Pokémon centers have become some of the most popular stores to visit in Japan for 2025. They have exclusive monthly merchandise, insane amounts of plushies, and amazing life-size Pokémon statues. So naturally, you want to add it to your itinerary. And fortunately for you, there are 22 Pokémon centers hidden all throughout Japan. But are they all the same? Well, the truth of the matter is each one is their own individual shop that have their own special personality. Similar to a Pokémon actually. And in this video, we are going to take our rankings from 2 years ago and redo them for 2025, as many of the shops have been rebranded and reopened with massive improvements and differences. I will be going through every single Pokémon center in Japan, all the pros, the cons, the secrets, the exclusives, all of it in order to determine the true champion of Pokémon centers. Now, these rankings are based off of my personal experience because I've visited all of these Pokémon centers in the past few years. But to give you some context on my rankings, I've utilized categories such as plush availability, Pokémon vibe, exclusive merchandise, accessibility, organization, and many more categories. But to save you time, I will consolidate each Pokémon Center into pros and cons of why you should or should not visit each one. And if you're interested in Pokémon Centers or the exclusive Pikachus that come with them, check out the channel membership to join the Pokémon Center crew. Now let's get into the lowest ranked Pokémon Center, which happens to be the only one in the F tier. And that is Pokémon Center Tohoku. Now, a little side note, this Pokémon Center is actually being renewed as of the release of this video, and it has 6 new exclusive Pikachus that look absolutely insane. But for this current ranking, it is dead last. The store itself is located in Sendai, which is honestly right at the main train station for the prefecture of Miyagi, so it's not a bad spot. It's a very small shop though. It lacks any variety of products, no exclusive merchandise, and feels very crowded no matter when you go. All of this might be a reason that they're actually renovating the spot as we speak. So tune into the channel when we tour the reopening of this location because the ranking should definitely increase. But for now, it's F tier. Moving from F tier to D tier, we have 5 Pokemon centers to go through. The Sapporo Pokemon Center, which happens to be located in Hokkaido, so unless you plan on flying up to the northern side of Japan, there's not much reason to come to this shop, at least not yet. It has your typical 3 Pokemon statues, has decent space and decent variety of plushes. I would say it's a little too small and doesn't have much to interact with. I wouldn't be surprised if they renew this location very, very soon. Now, the next one is the Fukuoka Pokemon Center, which is located, well, in Fukuoka. And it's at the main train station as well, so it's not in a terrible location if you're visiting the area. But again, similar to Sapporo, it's just a bit small. It's organized decently well, has your monthly merchandise, and has a decent selection of plushies. Definitely a spot to visit if you're in the area of Kyushu, but with the lack of any exclusive merch, it's hard to recommend it as a store to visit. Which brings us to the Narita Airport store. Pros for this store? It's at the airport, so you can shop for those last minute gifts, plushes, cards, etc. It also has some decorations all throughout the airport that you can visit too, which is awesome. It's very cool. But in reality, it's about the size of a living room. Just way too small to have enough space to have any wide variety of merch. Plus, its plush selection is basically your legendaries, your starters, and then a few of the top favorites amongst all fans around the world. And then really no monthly merch. But they do have an exclusive Pikachu here, which, if you don't know by now, are only available at specific Pokemon centers. So consider these Pikachus super rare and valuable. So when you see them, buy them. Bare minimum, if you're gonna go to this Pokemon center, buy the Pikachu. That's my recommendation. Now, the final 2 in this tier are both located in Osaka, which is honestly a great location considering a lot of tourists go to Osaka. The Pokemon Center in Osaka has a decent size and variety of plushes, monthly merchandise is available, and a nice little mascot in the front. It makes for a decent experience, but nothing to get too excited about. Definitely a location to drop by if you're in Osaka, but honestly, if you go to Osaka, you might as well go to Osaka DX shop because Osaka DX has 3 huge mascots in the front, which is really awesome to see the legendary trio, especially if you're a Gen 1 fan and you like Articuno, Moltres, Zapdos. Them being right there when you get off the escalator, it's awesome. And then you also have the Pokémon Cafe right next door, which honestly is a little bit less crowded than the Tokyo one, so it's definitely a good opportunity to try out the special Pokémon food. The interior of the shop is all mid. I mean, you have your plushes, a decent amount, and the monthly merchandise is there. It's a decent sized store, to be honest. Basically, the bare minimum to be considered a Pokemon Center. It's not one I would say you must go to, but considering you have a Pokemon Cafe there, that gets some bonus points. But it's nothing like the next tier. The C tier of Pokemon Centers features some that I would say you might have to visit. Gotemba is a Pokemon store, and it's the first one in this tier, located in the premium outlets in, well, Gotemba. And although it is a small shop, the Mount Fuji Pikachu exclusive screams so loudly. I mean, if you want this guy, you have to find a way to get to this outlet. Absolutely must go. It's a hard one to get to though without a car, so we have to keep it in the C tier because of that. But the plush alone could push this to B tier possibly. It's that cool. The other cool thing here is that because it's an outlet, you have the potential to find discounted items occasionally. So that's pretty fun. Plus, you can see Mount Fuji from outside. The next one we have is the Yokohama Pokemon Center, which is one of the top stores to visit a few years ago. But with all the renewals, it has fallen down the rankings quite a bit. It is still a great location with great mascots. I mean, the Pikachu Manaphy is iconic, Kyogre on the ceiling is awesome, and the decorations around the center are always top notch. Add in the fact that you can find some cheap merch at the used toy store downstairs, or find some cool Pokemon arcades to play, or even find some Pikachu Pokelids all throughout the city of Yokohama. And this spot is a store I love to find time to visit. I mean, the shelving is well organized, the variety is pretty decent in terms of plush amount, but unfortunately the lack of the current exclusive Pikachus, because they used to sell 3 special Pikachus years ago, and the lack of activities within the Pokemon Center make it fall into C tier. Also in C tier is the Sky Tree, which is in a similar situation. It's great to come here for the Rayquaza. The Double Ray is amazing. Plus, it's located directly under the Sky Tree, so you can't lose with the location at all. But the frustrating thing is the exclusive Pikachu that is normally in this shop has never been available when I visit, so I have to dock points there. That and the variety of plushes is just not as abundant as the other Pokemon Centers coming up in this video, but it's still a spot to visit while at the Sky Tree, so it's always something to think about. Overall, I wouldn't call it a location that I feel obligated to visit though. Now, Hiroshima, on the other hand, is another location that used to have exclusive merch but now no longer is available. That is until later this year, as they too are renewing their shop. They do have the Gyarados, and a shining one at that, so it's cool to see. Plus, the spacing of the shop was refreshing, and the availability of all the merch was really cool. Definitely a spot to visit if you're in Hiroshima or a fan of Gyarados. But I have a feeling it's about to be a really popular spot because I hear exclusive Pikachus are coming very soon. Now, it might come as a surprise to some of you out there, but the Mega Tokyo Pokemon Center is also in C tier. But it only lies here because of the lack of exclusive merchandise. The mascot is a bit lacking, to be honest, as well. But if you wanted to visit a Pokemon City, this is your spot. It's directly located in a mall in Ikebukuro, and the whole floor is decorated with so many statues of Pokemon. You have the dessert shop, which can become pretty crowded at times, this Pokemon Go and TCG area where you can relax and play your respective games, and you of course have the large Pokemon Center that is very spacious, has lots of plushies. Monthly merch is readily available, and it is definitely a spot that we recommend going if you wanted to shop for Pokemon merch or just wanted to experience being immersed in a Pokemon city. Plus, the desserts are great for Instagram. But from one Pokemon Center without exclusive merchandise to one that has, we are in the last Pokemon Center for the C tier, which is the newly renovated Nagoya Pokemon Center. Now, with every newly renovated Pokemon Center, they seem to bring out new exclusive Pikachus. And this one's no different. In what used to be a small area, it's now increased in size with all new decorations, new mascots, and a video in the front. Which I've noticed with every new Pokemon Center, they all have new video screens and interactive activities to do all throughout the store. Like this wall here that can showcase the upcoming games, all by changing this round disc here. It's pretty innovative, to be honest. Tie in the fact that they have all this exclusive merch, and this might be the first spot on the list that I would say If you're a Celebi fan and it's your favorite Pokemon, you need to come here and visit this shop. It might be a bit out of the way, and I think that's why it's not in the B tier, but it's very much newly improved. Now, before we get into the top 7, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, because we go to tours of Pokemon Centers monthly, so if that's something that intrigues you, come join the fun. Anyways, the next 4 are B tier Pokemon Centers, and honestly, I'm shocked about the next one on the list, because the Pokemon Center Tokyo Station is our 7th best Pokemon Center and might have jumped from being one of the worst to number 7 in the span of just 1 year. They renewed it last year, and the changes were absolutely impressive. First, it moved to a larger location, increased the amount of merch. I wouldn't say it has so much in the monthly merch area, but it does have this exclusive Pikachu that is always a great grab. Couple that with these awesome mascots and statues, which really add to the ambiance of it being a train station Pokemon Center, and you can totally tell that the vibe is very different from last year. But it's still a nice location for that last minute gift if you happen to be in Tokyo Station. If you happen to be nearby Shibuya Station, that is, then the 6th Pokemon Center might be the location to visit. The Shibuya Pokemon Center is a tough one for me to rate. As much as I love the Mewtwo, the designs on the wall, the closeness to the Nintendo store, and the decorations all throughout, it's still one of the Pokemon Centers I wouldn't say I would love to visit, and I don't try to visit whenever I go to Tokyo, to be honest. I mean, you have so many options in Tokyo. I just think that Shibuya is a little bit too small compared to the other options. I mean, they do have the Pokemon Fit Wall that has a decent selection. It really feels like it's a hit or miss, not guaranteed to find the one that you want. The monthly merch seems to sell out quick, and the fact that they took away the interactive screen makes me feel a bit disappointed. But the biggest positive for this shop is the fact that it is the only Pokemon Center where you can make a customizable Pokemon t-shirt by simply going to one of these booths and creating your own personal t-shirt design. So if you want a t-shirt from the Pokemon Center that you personally made yourself, this is a spot for you, and it's the one that you have to go to. So because of that, it's in B tier. But personally, I would suggest going to a Pokemon Center like the number 5 location, which is in Kanazawa, which is a bit far away, I will admit that, but that just means lots of merchandise, lots of space, and a whole lot of exclusive Pikachus to choose from. The size is great, the variety of merch was a joy to see. They could have a bit more fit plushes, but I really think the fact that the exclusive Pikachu and the exclusive merch are all over this spot makes it for an enjoyable time. Plus the statues are well placed, and Melodic is just standing there menacingly. It's really cool. Plus there is a Pokélid that I haven't visited, which is nearby, so I might have to check that out one day. Similarly, the 4th best Pokemon Center has all the same features as the previous one. It has an exclusive Pikachu, there's a statue in the front, the Ho-Oh, Lugia, the Johto starters. It has a decent size in the location. It's well thought out in its organization, to be honest. And that is the Kyoto Pokemon Center. Of course, this is a spot most tourists will have marked on their itineraries to visit, and rightfully so. The statues are awesome. The merch, very original. They even have local Kyoto products on sale as well. And they still make the vibe feel very Pokemon in here. Plus the statue in the front, it's absolutely iconic. Just watch out for crowds since it is in Kyoto. Maybe go outside and search for some Pokélids while you're in the area too, because there's a lot of people. While you go searching for those Pokélids, I am going to tell you about the top 3 Pokemon Centers. And these are all separated by only 1 point. So basically when I say number 3 on this list, it's essentially almost number 1. The number 3 Pokemon Center is the Okinawa spot, which dropped to 3 because of its location. It's literally on an island, and that's not easy to get to, obviously. But it's still one of my favorite Pokemon Centers, hands down. They did a great job in the decorations. They put amazing detail and thought into the layout. You have your ocean, your land, your sand, all decorated in detail within. The mascots in the front, with the Arcanine, the Alolan Executor, and the Pikachu in an Okinawan kimono, are absolutely top tier. Plus, since it's located in a mall, there are other little Pikachus hidden around that you can go and find as well. Couple that with all the exclusive merch like these Pikachus, which look absolutely amazing, and a really decently spaced out location, and you have yourself a store that I would visit even if I was not planning on an Okinawan trip. It's that good. Honestly, just for the experience. But due to its distance, I do understand that it's difficult to get to, and that's why it's at number 3. So let's find you something a little closer, which is the number 2 spot. Now, to be honest, number 1 and number 2 actually tied in the rankings that I put together. So I have to break the tie. And the way I'm going to be breaking the tie is by choosing which one I would prefer to go to if I had to just choose between the two. And lo and behold, that means that number 2 on this list is none other than the Pokémon Center Tokyo DX, or what we like to call the plush heaven of Pokémon centers. Hands down, a well-made location which is perfect for finding your original favorite plush, as it has quite the selection. It has its own plush room, which is full of almost every single fit plush that you've ever seen. This is probably one of the only locations that decorates the glass with the thought of people watching it from both sides. And if these plushies were not enough, you also have your monthly merch, which is always abundant and right in the front of the shop. And of course, if you needed more exclusive Pikachus, they continue to hold these in the shop as we speak. So when you do come to Tokyo, you just have to grab these. Add in the fact that the Pokemon Cafe is literally next door. Plus, there's this huge Snorlax in the front, a history of the Pokemon game line right behind that, and decorations all throughout the entrance and the shop. And you have yourself probably one really fun time in a Pokemon Center. Hands down, there are no real negatives to this spot. It's located in the heart of Tokyo, so you can't miss it, and it's definitely a no-brainer for your trip to Japan. But if I was you, I would make room for the next and final location, and that one happens to be the Tokyo Bay Pokemon Center, the newly renewed Pokemon Center located in Tokyo, which is actually technically in Chiba, but the shop itself, it's a doozy. First of all, there is this insanely giant surfing Pikachu in the courtyard, which already makes me smile every time I visit. But then there's the shop itself, which has space and shelving for days, an insane amount of Pokemon plushies, great organization, awesome exclusive merch, as the 3 Pokemon who represent this shop are available to purchase. I mean, the Ampharos plush with Marill and Pikachu on its back is pure happiness. Or maybe you just want to take a photo with them on this interactive statue. But whatever it is you want, this spot has it. I honestly felt like it was the store with the most variety of merchandise. And that might have been because it was just recently opened and they wanted to show out and make sure that everyone who visited went home happy. But whatever it was, it felt like you could find any item that was really hard to find elsewhere and easily find it in this shop. It might be an hour train ride from Tokyo, but if you're on your way to Disneyland, it's honestly on the way. And considering it is one of the lesser known Pokemon centers, I would highly suggest you try it out and add it to your itinerary. Buy some of the exclusives and surprise your friends. It's my favorite location to visit every time I go to Tokyo. But that's the ranking of all the Pokemon centers in Japan for 2025. Hopefully this helped you out in picking your Pokemon center that you're going to be visiting in your next trip. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments down below. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video somewhere in the wild area of Japan. Peace out.